This is it. The final prospect video. It means by this time tomorrow, we will know who the Miami Dolphins have drafted in the first round. Will we be happy? Will we be sad? No. What is up, Finn fans? We are doing secondary. And yes, I will be doing 5 corners and I will be doing 5 safeties. These are both important positions because to me, obviously we need a corner. If Jalen Ramsey's not going to be on the team, we need a corner before that. And to me, I still think we need at least one starting safety. I like the 2 guys we got, but I personally would like to add a starting safety. But real quick, before we jump into this, because might be a long one, we got 10 players to talk about. I have to shout out today's sponsor, and that is BetUSTV. Go check them out for your odds, your markets, your sports content at betustv.com. You can also find them on here at BetUSTV, and you also can find them on X at BetUSTV. Shout out to them. So 5-1. I will say this, corner's kind of deep. There's some guys that I didn't add on my list that you're probably like, you didn't put blah, blah, blah. And I got that a lot throughout this whole prospect ranking video. I love doing these because I'm able to really immerse myself and understand. And then this is why I don't do mock drafts. Like, we're going to do mock draft Monday. We're going to do a mock draft for trades Tuesday. And then Wednesday is the preview for the draft. And then the draft is Thursday, Friday. So that's your schedule for next week. That's why I don't do mock drafts until that time, because I'm still researching, learning all these players, who I like, who I don't like, who I wouldn't mind, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. So I like doing these prospect videos, but a lot of times in the comment section, I go, why don't you have blah, blah, blah there? And why don't this and that? And yeah, all that stuff. So let's jump into this 5-1. My number 5 on this list is Trey Amos out of Ole Miss, Mississippi Rebels. Let me get my notebook with my notes. 6'1", 190, ran a 4.43. He's got that adequate size. Again, 6'1", 190 for the NFL. He's a good athlete, multi-sport background, which is always bodes well, especially for these corners who are going to be facing these receivers, that their speed is just getting faster and faster. It's getting more and more ridiculous. Great coverage instincts, very high forced incompletion rates over the past 3 seasons. He likes to get his hands and be physical. That's a good thing, but also kind of a bad thing, because you can get your hands on them and be a little bit physical in college. In the pros, you're probably going to get called for some of these penalties. Very active hands in press, which is good. He's got long arms. Fantastic. You want those long arms, especially to have a big catch radius. I was going to say smack radius because I think it's smacking the ball down. But yes, and he has good strength to get off of wide receiver blocks and get into the backfield and make the tackles. Now, his negatives: he tends to tackle too high. And if you're tackle too high, you're going to get knocked down a little bit. You're going to get that shoulder, you're going to get the stiff arm. If you're up too high, right down there. He's got a sprinter background, but his top speed isn't crazy good, right? It's not like something that's going to really wow you. That's about it. And you're thinking to yourself, Doug, you have him at 5? Yeah, I like the other 4 better, but I would not be upset with Trey Amos at 48. Say the Miami Dolphins take Grant at 13, say Membu falls to 13, say they take Will Campbell at 13, say they take the Texas tackle at 13, I forgot his name, say they take any of these guys besides corner at 13, Trey Amos at 48, I would be very happy with. I do like, again, these 5 guys I'm going to name won't be there after 48. You are not getting any of these guys after 48, in my honest opinion. And I obviously don't have the number 1 corner / wide receiver in the draft because he's going to be top 3 pick. So I do like Trey Amos, and he is my number 5. My number 4 guy on this list is Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. Yes, I just put ND because I like to fit it nicely in here. 6'1", 190, So he's about an inch shorter than Trey Amos. He ran a 4.50. So a little bit slower than Trey Amos. He, very long arms, even for being a 6-footer. And fun fact, little divergent of a story here. I'm 6'5". I had my arms measured because I wanted to get a bow. And I got like 7-foot length arms, which is ridiculous. I think it's like 6'7". I don't think it's 7 foot, but my arm length is way longer than my height, which is ridiculous. Okay, back to here. Good. He's active in the press, which is good. Quick transition from shuffle to stride, which again is another thing. You want that transition, especially with corners. You want them to have very fluid hips, because if you ever watch the practices they do, or even at the combine where they backpedal, they go one way, they go the other way, then they turn and they run. You want those fluid hips, because a lot of times you're running backwards and you're trying to follow these receivers, and you're also trying to keep your eye on the ball. You want that fluid hip. He's got a good awareness, good timing to get his head around to find the ball. I was just talking about that. Willing run defender, and that's something you don't find a lot in these corners. These corners want to be, the Barry Sanders, the Sanders of the secondary, want to get the interceptions and all that stuff, but he is willing to get in the backfield and make the tackle to stop the run, and he's got a very high football IQ. Benjamin, that's to me the reason he gets the nod over Trey Amos, is that football IQ, and that is something that is very important. Now, his cons are his strengths, right? He has a hard time getting off his blocks, and he's making the tackles. So he is willing to get into the backfield and try to be a run defender, but he kind of struggles there. His start and stop ability is good, but it's not top tier. Again, these are things that he can work on, and he gets grabby. He gets a little grabby, and again, in the NFL, when you start to get grabby and all that stuff, you will get caught. That's why, like with Amos, one of his pluses is he's got very active hands and he's physical with these receivers. He could stay on them. That might not be great in the NFL. We'll see how that transitions. But again, I have him above Trey Amos because of that football IQ. I'm really liking that. Then we have my number 3. My number 3 is Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky, the University of Kentucky. He 6'1", 186. So he is taller than Benjamin, but he's lighter. The man ran a 4.28. And that is one of the reasons I have him at number 3, is because he is fast. Now, being fast isn't everything. How many of these speedy receivers, corners, whatever, wowed us at the combine, and then they kind of fizzled out in the NFL. But his positives are good tackler. He's, wrap up tackler, will do his thing. Visible communicator post and pre-snap, which is good, especially because you're trying to communicate with your middle linebacker who's all the way over there, with your safeties, all that stuff. And then especially if you're playing zone, you want to be able to communicate with your guys that I'm leading him into your zone, or here, you take him, I'll take him type of situation if you have a crossing route and all that stuff. He shows a good understanding of run fit duties. Again, we want guys who will be able to stop the run. And he's got an adequate first step, quickness, and acceleration. So again, he's going to keep up with these receivers. His negatives are, again, he's 186, so he is a little bit lighter. He is grabby. He lacks true anticipation, which is something he needs to work on. And his interception total wasn't, great, right? It wasn't more about ball skill and the anticipation. It was more about, opportunities of being there. So, I have him above Benjamin Morrison because of that 40 speed. Benjamin Morrison has that football IQ, and it's very close for me. I probably would flip Benjamin Morrison to number 3. But again, my 3, 4, and 5 are very close. I can very easily move them up and down if, I took an extra 3 days over the, other 3 days I did doing all this and really looking into that stuff. So now my 2 and 1. Now, I have looked at a ton of big boards. I have looked at a ton of other stuff. And people's 2 and 1 is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Not necessarily 2 and 1. Obviously, we all know who the number 1 corner is in this draft. But besides him, the 2 and 1s is just boop, 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 all over the place. For me personally, this is my 2. and that is Jahdae Barron out of Texas. Now, he is a good corner, and I would not be upset with him at 13 at all. 5'11", 200 pounds, ran a 4.39. Now, he is smaller of the corners. He is the shortest corner out of everyone. Now, he is so far the heaviest of the four that I've talked about. He's got the size, he's got the strength for a run defender, for tackling, especially the slot. This is a guy that probably will thrive in the slot, but also can probably play some safety as well. He could probably be all over the place, kind of like a Mika Fitzpatrick. He's got good closing speed. Again, he ran a 4.39. Breaks through blocks to make the tackle. He's got experience and comfort at the linebacker level. Again, Jahdae Barron, think of Mika Fitzpatrick, where when we drafted him, people kept asking him, where are you going to play? When are you going to play? Where are you going to play? That's his strength, too. He has that versatility as a defensive back. Good eyes, good anticipation. He's got a very good feel for the zone coverage, all that stuff. He is that guy who, Swiss Army knife of the defense. That's why I wouldn't be upset with taking him. His negatives. Again, I talked about hip movement before. It's a little bit slow at him flipping his hips, especially on route breaks. He gets uncomfortable when his back is to the ball. He did better in 2024. He gets handsy if he doubts his speed in certain situations, which he really shouldn't. Again, you run a 4.39. And his top speed is better than his acceleration. So it takes him a second to get there, but once he's there, he's got that top speed. Jahdae Barron, that's why I have him as my number 2, because, he's not a true corner 1, corner 2, right? He can play that slot. He can play safety. He's played the linebacker. He's all over the place, and that is my only reason I have him at number 2, because to me personally, I am looking for that corner 1, and to me, that corner 1 or corner 2, when I was making this initially, is Will Johnson out of Michigan. Big fan of Will Johnson. He's the tallest of all the corners, 6'2", 202 pounds, the heaviest of all the corners. He's the biggest corner. Didn't run a 40, so I can't tell you what his 40 time is. But, people say he kind of reminds them of Darius Slay. He understands the contain the run fits. He's got fluid transition from a back pedal to a stride. Again, I was talking to you guys about that. Can play confident in the slot if needed. So again, he has that not mobility, but that ability to play multiple positions, whereas Jahdae Barron is going to be all over the place. He can play in the slot and the outside if he needs to. Smooth when passing off to receivers. Again, that is a big thing, just like with Benjamin Morrison, with the communications, with using his hands and being able to pitch them off these receivers to the next guy. Very good at understanding leverage, versatile to play left or right side, and can shadow wide receivers number 1. That is incredibly important and why he is my number 1. His negatives are he can be inconsistent with his punches in the press. Why is that important? Because if I'm a corner and say that the receiver in front of me wants to run a slant in front of me, I'm going to jam that, that inside shoulder, because he wants to go across my face, right? He wants to go across my face and run that slant. I'm going to jam that shoulder and force him to go around me and slow it down. Again, another situation, if they want to run a go or they want to run some type of fade, they want to go this way. They want to go around my right. I'm going to jam that shoulder and force him to go the other way and make the routes longer. So his timing on his punches and press are a little bit of a problem. Sloppy with his tackling this past year. And his top speed is good, but it doesn't appear to be top tier with recovery. So, got to work on that. But I like Will Johnson a lot. I would be very happy with him at 13. Reminds me a little bit of Xavier Howard, how he likes to, mess with quarterbacks, with the receivers, because he did it with, who did he do it with? He did it with Andrew Luck, Xavier Howard. I remember against the Colts, he kind of let the receiver go a yard or two, and Andrew Luck tried to throw a touchdown to him, picked it off. I think we had 2 interceptions from Xavier Howard in like a span of like 4 plays. So I do like Will Johnson a lot, and that's why he is my number 1. But again, my 5, 4, and 3 are very interchangeable, but my 1 and 2 are not. I like Will Johnson at 1. I like Jahdae Barron at 3. You could very easily take Benjamin Morrison, put him at 3, and Maxwell Harrison a Hairston at 4, or you can even take Trey Amos. Again, those three, kind of mash them into one. Really like those guys. Now, let's talk about some safeties. It's interesting because, again, doing my research, a lot of different people have these safeties in different different listings and different numbers, especially my number 2. Some people have my number 2 safety as the number 6 safety. Hey, I'm not here to bash anyone. That's their opinion. They obviously know more than I do, but I like my number 2 safety. So we're jumping into this. Number 5 is Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State. 6'2", 208, ran a 4.50. He's got the good ball hawking skills, great hands, always around the right place at the right time. Intelligent player with a quick twitch of able to diagnose pre-snap and post-snap and make plays on the ball. Is very important for the safeties. Can play man-to-man, which is, again, important, especially if you're playing a safety to cover these tight ends. Versatile to win in coverage at free safety in the slot and in the box. So this is a very physical type of safety. Now, here is why he's my number 5. Partially torn ACL, ended his junior season after just 2 games. So he is, he's not dealing with an injury, but he had a big injury to his ACL. Only 1 interception in his career, and his reaction time can be a little bit slow. And to me, that is why he's my number 5. I do like his play. I like his versatility at being able to play free safety in the slot or in the box. I like that ability of his, but it's the injury history that kind of worries me. And we all know how injury histories come out and bite us in the tuchus. But again, Kevin Winston Jr., I think he'll definitely be there at 48. Another instance or situation where, if we don't take a safety in the first and the Dolphins, want to add a safety, which, going off of what Greer said, it doesn't seem like he thinks that he has 2 starters. I would like Kevin Winston Jr. I think he's a good safety, and I think he could help the Dolphins defense. My number 4, Andrew Makuba. I think that's how you say his name. Out of Texas. He is 6 foot 190, ran a 4.45. Had a good year this past year. Just looking off of PFF grades, he had a 90. So 2022 went from a 50, 2023 went to 71, and this past year it went to a 90. Great athlete, fluid trained motions. He's got the top speed, he's got the hips, all that stuff. He's decisive with his closing speed. He's decisive with his movements, decisive with his hits, command of his role as the, learning the offensive routes, concepts, all that stuff. Plays the ball in the air and not the receiver, which is big. Sometimes it can bite you in the butt if you're more looking at the ball and the receiver keeps going, but he plays more of the ball than the receiver, which can also help with not getting a lot of penalties. And it also helps him being in winning position to get the ball. And he flashes ranges and closing bursts, need to take a strong angle on outside runs. Now, his negatives. He's kind of slender. Again, 6 foot, 190, which can kind of hurt you, especially if you're going up against these bigger tight ends. He misses tackles. He gets juked out of his shoes a lot, which isn't great. And his lack of physicality shows up in his limited pass rush reps. So again, if you're blitzing him, he might get jammed at the line of scrimmage, and that's why he's my number 4. Again, Kevin Winston is my number 5 because of that injury history. But again, Andrew Makuba, I think that's how you say his name, another guy that I wouldn't be upset with. On PFF, they have him resembling Devin McCourty, another good safety, another safety that was solid for the New England Patriots, if I'm correct there. Wouldn't be upset with him. I don't think he's a third. I don't think he would be for the Dolphins in the 3rd round. So it would be another situation with 48. Or if we traded down from 13 and picked up some more picks. Again, that's the idea, and I'll talk about this on Wednesday when I give you my preview. Talk about, what I would like the Dolphins to do, who I'd like them to take, all that stuff. Got a whole big video plan for you guys on Wednesday, but Andrew Makuba is my number 4 safety. My number 3 safety, I said 3, is Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. Had a good past year. build off his 2023 season. He's a ball hawk, which I really, really like. High IQ football player. Again, very important, especially when you're playing that safety role. You're all the way back there, all by yourself in some instances, not all of them. Coverage man-to-man in 2024 did really well. Versatile in win coverage at free safety, slot, and in the box. Again, another safety who has the ability to play in all the different positions, kind of like Kevin Winston Jr. And again, my reason for bidding him 3 and Kevin Winston Jr. at 5, I'll reiterate one more time, injuries. He does have tackle issues, but he did improve last year. So again, that is a negative, but also kind of a positive. He gets caught flat-footed in coverage sometimes, and he's a little stiff when he's flipping his hips. But I really like that football IQ. I like the ball hawk ability, and I like what I saw out of him this past year. So to me, that is why I have him as my number 3. Then we get into the 2 and 1. Now, again, this is another situation where some people had this person at 1, some people had him at 2, some people had him. PFF had this safety at 6. Now, comment below. Do you think Kevin Winston, Andrew Mukuba, or Xavier Watts is better than my number 2? And that is Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina. I didn't know much about him. And then when I got to know more about him, I was like, this guy's good. I really, really like him. 6'3", 227, ran a 4.38. That was the biggest thing for me when I started watching him. When I saw him at the combine, I was like, who is this guy? Because 6'3", 227, he's a big safety, but he ran a 4.38. And PFF is saying he's shades of Melifonwu. No, Melifonwu. Obi Melifonwu. I wonder if he's related to our safety. But he's got the size, he's got the length, he's a freakish athlete. Again, I'll repeat one more time. 6'3", 227, ran a 4.38. Effective hands, he's in the box, he's at the slot, he's near the line of scrimmage, makes good use of his range, pairs with his ball skills. He's got great arm length, flashes makeup speed to undercut routes. He fights through screens and blocks and all that stuff. Really, really like this guy as number 2. Will he be there in the second round? I don't know. If you go off of PFF, yes. Because again, they have him as their number 6. But to me, I think he's the number 2 safety. If you trade down, you could probably get him. I think 13 might be a little too high at first. I was like, yeah, take him at 13. But the more I think about it, it could be a little too high. He does have stiff hips. These are the negatives. He gets bailed out by poor reads and recognition. He gets handsy, which will cause penalties. He's a late effective in the deep half, and he over pursues on certain angles. So there are the things that he needs to clean up that won't make him a top 15 pick, but I don't think he'll be there at 48. I think Nick Emanwari, I think what he did at the combine really pushed his stock up, running that 4.38 and showing his, to match with his physicality on tape. So to me, that's my number 2. And obviously my number 1, which I used to call Malik because I'm a big dumb, it's Malachi Starks. I think he is a lot of people's number 1s out of Georgia. He's 6'1", 205, ran a 4.50. He's good safety. He's got elite ball skills, good tackler, fluid movement, especially in the deep zone. Good pre-snap communicator. He has a sprinter background, so his top speed is impressive. Long wingspan, so he can cover a lot of field, not only with his body, but with his arms. His negatives are his movement can be out of control at sometimes. He can be a little too aggressive pursuing angles. And his judgment was significantly off last year. All these things could definitely, he's a little aggressive, a little too aggressive. Like I said, pursuing angles, his movements, and, his judgment. You just got to hone him in, right? Take what he does well, take his skills, take his, ball skills, take his movement, take all that stuff, and you just hone it in, right? Because his negatives seem like he's just all over the place at times. Just got to bring it in, just hone it in, and he'll be all right. But to me, Malik Starks is my number one. If the Dolphins took him at 13, I would not be upset with that at all. I don't think he makes it to the 20s. I think he's going to be the first safety taken off the board. I don't know if he'll be taken before 13, but he is my number one. And that is my prospects. We did all of them but wide receivers because I don't think the Dolphins really are going to take a wide receiver early enough for me to talk about it. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think about the corners and safety rankings. Let me know what you think about this whole series that I do all the time. I might see you tomorrow, but if not, I'll definitely see you on Monday where we do mock drafts. I'm going to do 3 mock drafts from 3 different sites. If you know any that you'd like me to do besides PFF, PFN, and this other one that I use, let me know because I know ESPN has one too. So comment below, let me know. And again, shout out to BetUS TV. Go check him out. But like usual, stay classy. Fins up.